All right, welcome to 5 Minutes with Sean, maybe 10. Today is a follow-up to last week's podcast, which was all about paid punishment for performance, which really kind of took off, man. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It was something that had a couple of reposts throughout the social media world, and a lot of people kind of chiming in, having opinions, and all in the same road. And it got me thinking, why does this happen? And so I started just kind of internalizing it and thinking more about it over the last couple of days. And all of a sudden, my wife said to me, hey, maybe it would be smart to do a follow-up podcast about how, that sort of thing changed how you viewed the car business and changed what you did. Because I guess at the end of the day, she'd be right about this, which was, all these things that happen, all these, punishment for performance situations that I noted, at the end of the day, I still went to work because it was about money. That's how I ran my life. And that industry knew that from the get with me, right? I got hooked like a drug addict would get hooked at 18 years old, man. I had a 6-figure job at 18 years old living in my parents' basement. I mean, that's going to make a lot of things different. It's going to make your outlook on things a little bit skewed, or at least in my case. And so I was used to people putting out bogeys, me hitting them, making huge paychecks, And people would ask me, how do you stay in the car business? And the answer, and you may have heard of this before if you've listened to the podcast, the answer when I was a kid was on a pile of money. F off. Now, money isn't the main motivation in my life, which is weird. Anyone who knows me personally will tell you that doesn't even sound right. Is that the right person? And look, man, this podcast is meant to be real. This podcast is meant to be honest. 6-7 years ago, I was sitting with just around $1 million in debt. Houses, cars, credit cards, everything you could think of, multiple houses. I mean, yeah, all of it, right? All the things you think you deserve or are entitled to when you have a 6-figure job and have had one for a long time. My wife, thank God, saved me long ago from being a complete waste of space with money. She definitely taught me a lot about it. Savings, 401ks, investment, things of this nature, things that don't really resonate with a 22-year-old who's making, again, 6 figures. And so I know that this happened to me because I allowed it to happen to me. So as much as last week's episode was, shame on dealer, the honest truth of it is shame on me too, right? Because I sat through it. I dealt with it. I let it continue to happen to me. And only after probably my wife's surgery and all of those things was probably the straw that broke the camel's back with regards to that. And I was fortunate enough to have a friend of mine at the time who was running her own gig, and she took me in and she got me with a client really quickly, and I kind of became a pseudo consulting director just so I could figure out what was going on with my life. And during that time, I spent a lot of time away from my wife, separated on the other side of the state at this gig for 4 days a week. And it taught me a lot, man. It taught me that I'm going to have to figure out a way to balance my life, because in a hotel room way back when, this was been 7-8 years ago, my today business partner, as I've said before, been a friend of mine for 25 years. I called him and I just said, dude, I'm tired. And he kind of said, you ain't even 30 yet. What do you mean you're tired? And he knew what I meant because he'd watched me my whole life. But that thing is real. Well, that exhaustion, that industry wear is real. And that's why I get so passionate about trying to stop this particular part of the behavior. But perhaps the way to stop it is to convince or empower or educate people that there are dealers, there are jobs within this wonderful industry, that this will not happen to you. And so I implore you to seek them out if you're in these positions, and find other positions that won't have this happen to you. Because again, if you saw last week's cast, There were comments all over. Colin, myself, people had comments about, yep, here's my situation. Yep, here's my situation. Yep, here's my situation. And the cool thing is most of them ended with, yeah, but it led me to this job with people who didn't do this to me. And that to me is good, right? It makes me smile to some extent. Because I do love this industry with everything that I have, and I always will. And I didn't want last week to come across as everything on the dealer, although obviously I do believe they control most of the cards. If, chicken or the egg, right? If they didn't have the behavior, then we wouldn't have the reaction, or we wouldn't feel like we were stuck in something. But it's a bigger story. It's more about making sure that you understand that if in your life you value the almighty dollar over anything else, and you have thoughts like I had, which is, hey, this guy pays me such a big check that short of hitting me, he can do whatever he wants. That kind of mindset is what gets you in a pay-for-performance situation. And yeah, it's easy to blame the dealer, but our lifestyle, we know we put ourselves there. We know it. We know we did it to ourselves. Because they know most of us live paycheck to paycheck and outside our means in this industry because there is no education when you come in, man. Look, I didn't go to college. You've heard me say it before. So 18, 19 years old, making six figures. My parents weren't making six figures. I didn't have anybody to talk to about this. I was blowing through money left and right. I didn't know the value of nothing. But I knew that if I had the money and I saw the people who surrounded me because I had money, I knew I could control the situation with money. But when, at whatever time in my life it was, when it was taking $15,000, $20,000 a month just to keep the ship running, financial obligations just to move forward, not to save or vacation or earn out, just to move forward. Yeah, that realization hits you like a bag of rocks. This whole thing has become far too much for me. And I got warned along the way. My parents aren't stupid. They saw it. My wife saw it, but everyone knew that it didn't matter if there was nothing was going to stand between me and money. And now, if I wanted to make six figures again, because I don't running this small gig because it's not what it's about anymore. But if I wanted to, I'd go out and do it tomorrow. But I know what will come with it. It'll either be a soul-sucking corporate job that I'll hate with every fiber of my being, or it'll be back in a dealership where this could potentially happen to me. Now, obviously, I would vet things out much differently than I did 10 years ago, but that's the reality. So, as easy as it was to blame the dealer, the shared blame is definitely ours. And I'm not sure it's 50-50, 60-40, and I don't even know if it matters. What I think does matter is that we start paying attention to our lifestyles and how what our job does affects those lifestyles. Because, you can't complain about both, right? I say that all the time in the Midwest. Here, you can't complain about the winter and then complain about the summer. We got all 4 seasons here. So you can't complain about how your boss treats you when you got to have that paycheck to pay your bills and you know this is the only place that's going to pay you. People knew I didn't have a college education. They knew there wasn't a lot of options for me. It's not their fault. They also knew I was hungry with money. So what they do, they threw it in front of me in gobs. And I went for it. And I fell for it every single time. Until now. Now I do something that I have passion for, that I love. Don't sit here and I'm not acting like I'm under the poverty line. That's not what I mean. It's just not $200,000, $250,000. Which maybe, unless you're the millennial tech wizard who ends up making billions, maybe that kind of money needs to come with a warning label when you're that young. Maybe that's what I would hope more of you hear from this. And if you're young and in the car business right now, I hope you're listening, man. I've been through it. I've done it all. Made the money, blown the money, drugs, women, you name it. The stories are the same. The stereotype is obvious, and I live it. Used to live it. Now I live the other side of it. It's all about time. It's all about life. It's all about family. So I hope you guys understand my point here. I hope you enjoy my point. It's always something a little bit different that I like to throw out. It's nothing crazy. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So, love to hear your comments as always. Text or phone calls, 262-278-0157. By the way, we did get one of our first calls on the paid for punishment or Punishment for Performance won, and it was pretty cool. I had a great conversation with the young man, and it was great to hear. And that kind of, again, is the motivation behind a podcast follow-up like this. So the email, Sean, SEAN, @carbizdonebetter.com. Guys, thanks a lot for listening, and hope you tune in next time.